Hey all, welcome to Circle of Tone. We're back. Sorry about the delay. Lots of stuff going on. Nothing bad. All good. Have you missed me? Did you even not even realize I was gone for a month? Which happens. Hey, welcome. Thanks to my patrons of Tone. Nobody signed up recently. Don't blame you. But we're back, and we're going to have quite a few. I've got a few lined up. The guitar's already recorded. Let's get on with Madchester. What's Madchester?
This in particular is Eastern Bloc Records, home of the hits. Wheelbar Records, where people like in spiral carpets. Happy Mondays, the Maestro Echoplex.
The Stone Roses.
Yeah.
And if you come down here, 828 State. No, I just think they're a bunch of northern scumbags. Badly dressed, bad haircuts.
Madchester. You Americans might not have heard of this. There was a scene in the 90s, all right? Manchester previously had been very serious.
Of a shyness that is criminally vulgar. I am son and heir. When you laid your hands upon me and told me who you are.
We call it the anorak scene. A lot of Londoners actually took to the scene that the music that was coming out of Manchester at the time was very serious and dour, and the people that take music maybe too seriously. They read into every lyric, into every chord, and they wax lyrical about it. There was that. But all of a sudden, this sound came out of Manchester, which, by the way, the scene, the actual Manchester music industry, hated the Stone Roses when they first came out. I think they thought they were pretty boys, you know, the style of music was a bit alien to them, and they were doing something new. And these snobs turned their back on Stone Roses. So Stone Roses like, whatever, we're going to do what we do. We're going to dress like we dress. Put it this way. The Gallagher brothers from Oasis, they went to a Stone Roses show and they became Oasis because of this band. I hear the influences from the Jam, from the mod scene. I also hear influences from the psychedelic scene. They'll not appreciate that, but there was a lot of shoegazy stuff in there. And also just goddamn talent and hooks. You know, they didn't break it in America, which was a big thing. Even the Charlatans had a number one. I think they were the only one to have a number one hit, the Charlatans. Bangers, man. Why I like the Stone Roses, and I'm a late bloomer to them, because when I saw this scene, I was deep in the thrash, all right? So you couldn't tell me nothing about anything apart from thrash. I was a thrash fucking bot. I was metal to my core, all right? Actually, I was still into The Who and The Jam, so I got it. And Supergrass were awesome, you know? And speaking of this, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant. Often I don't talk about the bands. I am going to talk about the band in this one and the gear. If you want a list of all the gear that he used during this era, just check the description. I'm trying to get away from concentrating too much on the gear. I want to concentrate more on scenes and the underbelly of counterculture, all right, which makes it so great. There is nothing like embracing a brand new scene, all right? I get it now with the hardcore kids, because hardcore's gone fucking crazy with Turnstile and everything. And I'm loving that because it's a gateway drug into maybe a new scene, you know, because Turnstile currently are cosplaying as No Doubt with their next new single, but it's great. You know, it has hooks. Owen Gibbons, Circle of Tone, Captain Riff, all right? Riffs in my veins. And I'm looking at my camera, guitar nerds, guitar riffs, all right? Too much. We've gone, the pendulum has swung to everything, chug this, fucking riff, heavy. The band is like a secondary in most rock and metal bands, okay? Now it's all about riffs, mostly stylistic, ripping off Doom, ripping off rock, ripping off AC/DC, ripping off the hardcore scene like now. So what am I getting at? Like, what are you talking about? This is a rock and metal channel. Why am I dissing riffs? Listen to this compilation.
You know the one that takes you to the places where all the things we tell. Can you see me, doctor? Whoa,
I'm left-handed.
I'm just sitting here looking at pretty colors. I don't know, I'm just sitting here looking at pretty colors.
None of those songs had riffs. It was just the whole band with a riff. It's the same with the Stone Roses. They don't really have riffs. They mostly have hooks. Hooks and songwriting and things, choruses you can wave your beer to, bass grooves that get your fucking hips going. I think, like I always say it, guitar nerds stuck to a click in Pro Tools with fake drums ruined rock and metal. We, guitarists, are in charge. We start to need to actually get in charge of the band rather than look at me, listen to me. That's what rock and metal's become. A fucking riff fest. If I hear another goddamn black metal trem picking blast beat with anguished screams in the forest, I will fucking scream. If I hear another Exodus rip-off riff, if I hear another in blackened thrash, another Tom Araya scream, fucking bots have ruined the music scene, and modern metal production also isn't clicking, all right? Which is why I want to... It's why people like me, the punk rock MBA, he's getting way too much shit, by the way, for telling the truth about not liking new music. Like, who does? He's dares to be honest about his opinion. Oh my, OMG. You know, he's saying that he's doing it for the money. He's only talking about new metal. He's only talking about old bands just like I do. What am I gonna cover for a new band? There's nothing but a Greta Van Fleet of every genre. You know, there's so many Black Sabbath clones still. I used to think Cathedral were a derivative. Cathedral, all right, when it comes to Doom. I thought that was a kind of a joke because they were ripping off Sabbath too much. Cosplay, same thing with Mayhem. They were the Greta Van Fleet of Bathory, all right? I am the end of level I am Manchester before Madchester. I am the bespeckled. Where's my glasses? Hold on, I'm going to prove it. All right? When it comes to rock and metal, I am that basement-dwelling, blackened creep that just agonizes over music, all right? That's me. Listen to this compilation of songs, and then you tell me where the riff is. Both rock and metal, man. I got my glasses on. It's Professor Owen in the house telling you, Mr. Riffy guitar player, think about the goddamn choruses, think about the verses, think about transitions, think about the getting women back into rock and metal, where it's a fucking sausage fest. It used to be exciting and, you could actually score. There's no seedy underbelly counterculture to the modern rock and metal bands. Look at this.
Oh, shit!
Characters on guitar, songwriters on guitar, golden gods holding a microphone, ripped, hair from heaven, face of an angel.
I don't mind stealing. Spurs are on their way to Wembley. Tottenham's gonna do it again.
What's going on with rock and metal? All these people that look like me, doing interviews for Guitar World. Yawn. Oh my God. Get off the stage, fatty. And also attitude. What's going on with attitude? That's why I love the Stone Roses. Now let's get on to the band. Take these off and pretend I'm a heavy metal man. I'm going to leave them there, so every time you think I'm wrong, just look at my glasses, all right? They pretty much one and done. One album. I remember seeing them for the first time, like everybody else did, on Top of the Pops, all right? And I remember thinking, that bass player looks like a geezer. He looks like a chav, all right? I thought the band looked like scoundrels down the estate. All right, wearing the baggy pants because there was fashion. Everybody in Manchester before the Stone Roses were wearing Fled jeans and Timberlands and, graphic tees and all that type of stuff. And a lot of it came from the acid house scene as well. And the fashion kind of blended into Manchester. And speaking of acid house, the Stone Roses, it wasn't just drums. They had a lot of EDM influence in the music, in the rhythms. A lot of loops, and the drummer, who is fucking fantastic, bounce, snap, groove. You name it, that band had it. The bass with the riffs from riffs on bass. I'm talking about the bass. What modern rock and metal bands are we talking about bass players these days? It's usually the guitarist fucking playing it, through a Sans amp. And they were like geezers. This is right. Getting onto the BBC, getting onto ITV, they had just broken. They'd just gotten famous. And this happened during one of their performances.
So we'll move on to the next item, documentary photography. We'll do it. We'll sort it out in a minute. Making social commentary.
Amateurs!
You'd swear that they'd been in the industry for 20 years. They were like Mariah Carey complaining on stage that fucking amateurs. I love that swagger. They had a single out before they broke with the album, with the first proper album. And their old record label re-released it without the band's consent, and they didn't even have the band in it. They just had some weird video with actors in it.
You no longer have the right to produce the video.
But Birch went ahead anyway.
But this video is just fucking with our art, basically, and it's bang out of order.
So I thought, right, great opportunity. I said, do something about it. And it went on from there.
En route to a recording session in Wales, the band made a quick detour.
I think we told Steve Vance to stop at Fad's DIY Centre in Northenden. We need to get loads of tins of paint and some overalls and stuff like that. And Steve's going, why? And John's going, oh, I'm going to do some art. So we loaded up and went, do you mind if we just stop in Wolverhampton a second, as he was driving us down?
We pulled outside the offices of the record labels, a couple of cars outside, a Merc and something else. And John Squire said, Steve, stay in the car. We don't want you to think that we brought people to burst the door in with us as well. We just want to have a word with him.
There was a knock at the door, and my wife comes from my office and says, look, the Stone Roses are at the door. I said, okay. So I went to the door, and all hell broke loose.
And he's come to the door and Rennie's let him have a full 5 litre tin of fucking gloss. And John's let him have one over him and his missus.
You think you know how you're going to react in a situation like this. Believe me, you don't know how you're going to react.
And then we're just with like Brook Bond chimps on LSD running around just fucking smashing shit up.
The story they didn't tell was that they had this paint stripper and harmful chemicals. The cans with the big X on the side, harmful to your skin.
I think that's me, that was going to do his cars with it. But it all happened so quickly I didn't get a chance to do the cars anyway. We smashed his cars up anyway, so there's no need for the nitromos. We then pelted back to the car. Steve, I just like, what have you done? He's like, fucking drive, man.
How often now do you see bands being marched into court for cool reasons? for causing mayhem. Never. It's always like, oh, they've, you know, fucking lost profits type of shit. You know, sketchy. Because rock and metal, they're full of milady types these days. The chivalrous. They're so scared of being sexy. Listen to how fucking sexy this guitar hook is, not riff, hook. I've done a video on vag dryers, on how the guitar and metal and rock industry now is full of vag dryers. I mean, Youngblood, God bless him, he's bringing a little bit of sexy back. Yes, he's a victim of modern recording. I swear, if Youngblood got in a studio with me and I got kick-ass drummer and rhythm section and me on guitar, he's a good player too. He could be what rock and metal needs. Honestly, mate, he is fucking talented. I gotta give it to him. But he's doing the modern way of recording and the modern ways of doing videos. I mean, even Ozzy Osbourne liked him. Well, probably Sharon. And if you want to get into the crux of what broke him up, now there's a bad guy in this scenario.
A lot of the so-called Manchester music scene, this probably includes Tony Wilson, Howard Jones, they didn't know about my background. I mean, remember, I'd had Keith Moon in a Ford Zephyr.
And the bad guy was their manager. And they have this documentary about what happened with the Stone Roses. Highly recommend it. I'll put it in the top comment. We can chat about it. I end up really liking the manager.
Halfway through the meeting, Evans played his trump card.
He said, I sell underpants. He dropped his trousers and he said, I'll sell these. It was just insane.
I only pulled my trousers down, showed my knickers. It went no further.
Swayed by Evans's sophisticated selling technique, the band sat down to discuss a contract.
It was a parental guardianship agreement rather than a music business management agreement, which gave him all sorts of rights over all of us, you know.
Crucially, the contract gave Evans and his business partner a hefty third of the band's earnings for a staggering 10 years.
I think you have to have 10 years with a band if you're serious about it. You know, what is this 1 year and 2 years and 3 years? You know, it's a load of nonsense.
Someone who's seen more than his fair share of management contracts is music lawyer James Ware.
Looking at a management contract which contains a commission of 33.33% on gross revenue, that's before you've taken any expenses, and a 10-year term, we're looking at a contract that's not only extortionate, it's outrageous.
I love Bastards. There's something about him. Like, he is such a fucking dirtbag. Sometimes I like the brass balls on these types that rip off bands. I'm telling you, bands have got to get a bit more ruthless. You'll see a lot of the people at the top, all right, they're ruthless. Like, I don't have it in me. I don't have the drive, the push, the bastardness. You know, I'm Welsh, all right? We like fucking hobbits in Wales. Hobbits that play rugby, all right? We'll fuck you up if you push us, but we generally very laid back. But this guy was so full of it. And I loved every part of him in it because I was like, oh my God, you know, sometimes it's like the guy you love to hate. Every time he opened his mouth, I was like, oh, how did they not know? How did they not know he was full of shit? But yeah, he fleeced the band. That put a bad taste in their mouth. They ended up in limbo in court, you know, good old-fashioned court. And then they got a massive record deal to put out their second album because they were like the second coming, you know. I think they called the album The Second Coming. And it was a massive flop. They just lost it. They were just lost in the sauce. They were, you know, the first big advance they got, they ended up going to France and getting a $500 hotel and a night, $500 a night hotel, just living life, you know. And that kind of like is the rock star way to go. I don't blame them. You know, they thought that this was going to keep on going and going. But then they forgot the hard part. the Sweat and Sawdust and Blood and Thunder part, and they ended up with an insipid second album. Then they just broke up. A lot of these bands that burned bright, they just couldn't with the schisms, with that lifestyle. I mentioned Oasis. You have to mention Oasis with this. Would you like me to do Oasis, by the way? Because I know a lot of the gear they used, and a lot of the stories from their studio sessions are fucking hilarious. And, you know, it's good timing, right? Oh, yeah, bands. By the way, guitar players are watching this. Bass players are watching this, okay? Mostly musicians watch my channel. Do you have any fucking idea how many billions of people want your type of music? Do you have any fucking clue of the appetite that is out there for 90s style production to tape? Magic caught usually the bones of it in the room, with the bass player playing with the drummer. Oh my God, not one at a time, not drum machines, not snapped to a grid, not one fucking plastic vanilla platter of massive loud bullshit. They want rock and roll, grimy. It's in our genes, man. We don't like this fucking processed nonsense that we get in today. It's just soulless. It's too much information. This shit has zero noise floor. It captures every single fizz from these speakers, all right? By the way, I was using a Fender amp. I'll show you. This is how I was mic'd up. Does that look like forum micing to you? No, I'm micing up like fucking feet away from it, old school. Because that's what people like. That's what's in people's, you know, yes, you can't hear my mids as good as they could be. Yes, it's overly shrill because I'm not going to tape. But that's what people like. They like a bit of fucking edge. We've dropped the torch into a muddy puddle. All right? I don't know, man. I seem to be shouting into the wind. How can you not know? Millions of musicians have access to recording now, like you did in the 70s, 80s, 90s, versus what? 1,000 rock and metal musicians that had access to, you know, unlimited tracks back in the 90s. We should be drowning. We should be fucking drowning in amazing rock and metal. Why? Nobody is pumping the brakes and saying, hey, modern production isn't snapping with people who like rock and metal, with normies. It's not grabbing them. Why? We're not going to think about it. We're not going to fucking talk about it. People act like I'm a crazy person. How can you deny the vibe from AC/DC? How can you deny the vibe from all, like, Led Zeppelin, where that magic is? You know? It's live, playing in a room. Nobody's playing live anymore. I'm not the old man. I was born in the technical darkness. I'm the most fucking nerdiest bitch you'll ever come across. I'm not an old man shouting at clouds. I'm old, but I was an early adopter to this tech. I just did a video on that. Dude. When I heard Squire for the first time, I wasn't into them because I was so, like, sidetracked into Exodus and stuff like that. I always remember thinking how quirky it was, because it's not like this riff, this hook. It's not a normal thing that your brain would go to when you know a blues scale. All right? His style of playing, they spent days just messing with the wah sounds on the album, on a debut album where, you know, money is burning and they're unproven. They stuck to their guns. And I like that. He's not like a virtuoso player. A lot of the stuff he plays is, you know, doable, but he's got a certain quirk to his playing. It reminds me of Piggy, where Piggy doesn't pick specific notes that you would think of when you think of melodies, when you think of a hook. He goes up, outside the edges, all right? And so does Squire. And then you have Manny's bass, all right? Forget about the drums, which are fucking amazing and very hip because of how they had EDM influences in them as well. But Manny and John Squire talk about this. I say gestalt entities when it comes to bands, where you have the John Entwistle with the Keith Moon, with the Pete Townsend, all right? And then let's put a Golden God on top of that. Let's put the fucking coolest cherry you've ever seen on top of that pie. The first bite sometimes is with the eye, and when you look at Stone Roses, they don't look any fucking... I always thought the rest of the band looked kind of janky, but then you have this singer who is cool as shit. You've all seen the cool kid in class. He was obviously the cool kid in class, right? But I tried to sing this. Holy shit. Holy shit. You appreciate his whisper, ethereal vocals, because I know all the tricks in the book when it comes to singing, all right? I'm a bit of a diva. And holy shit, I could not get anywhere near it. I had to scrub him. I was like a day of just singing and failing because I don't have that syrup. I have a bit of a grating, like, in my voice when I sing. So I can't be sexy. I can't sing sexy. I'm good in other aspects. We need a new scene. Turnstile are actually, I'm impressed with what they're doing because they are making their own little counterculture. There's a little slice of their pie where their gigs are special, okay? Like, they remind me of, they're very fashionable. It's like a pop-up fashion, all right? Like, if you don't know what that is, sometimes certain brands that are really huge, like Skrillex, he will do a pop-up fashion outlet in Tokyo, all right? And their shirts and shit will sell out in seconds, okay? And they'll only put something up online, which is like a clue about where the store's going to be, and they'll pop up. They kind of do, Turnstile kind of do that with their gigs now. It's a big deal. And I love the culture. It's bringing culture into the scene. Yes, it's a bit hipstery. Yes, they're kind of copying a lot of riffs and a lot of bands, but they're putting their own spin on it. And that's what I've always said. Like Metallica would kind of copy a lot of the riffs that they had were copycat riffs, but they sounded so different. They'd put their own stamp on it, especially by the time it got to Ride the Lightning. Then, they sounded exactly like Dave Mustaine. Dave. Megadeth won't stop touring, by the way. Megadeth aren't going to quit. It was just him lying to bring attention to him bringing out another Vanilla Sausage album. So yeah, bring counterculture back to rock and metal. The seedy underbelly, the warts, the danger. There's no danger. What danger is on YouTube land when it comes to guitars? What danger is there? In fact, they'll do the opposite. They'll tell you, hey, if you have, what did I see the other day? If you have a nice pedal board, your power supply better be as expensive as your pedals because you have no idea about that. Like, are we really? That's what's important? That's what's getting the clicks? Brother, what are we doing? Play loud, play obnoxious, play like grit, mean it, dig into it, love it. Write about what you know, write about what you hate, write about what you love. Be something yourself, And god damn, this band were like a breath of fresh air. And what happened? What did I say about culture? Oasis came out of that. Blinding, like Blur. All these fucking amazing bands started coming out and creating like a new British explosion. All because of Madchester. Happy Mondays, Stone Roses were the first. I actually think Happy Mondays did kind of beat them to the punch to be the actual godfather of Madchester scene. But Stone Roses, there would not be one. There would not be that scene without them. So they were like I said, where Alice in Chains' Man in the Box broke grunge, Nirvana took them off into the stratosphere. Okay, same thing happened with Oasis. And they'll tell you, both of those brothers will tell you they were a better band than Oasis. And for them, who says we're the best band in the world, if you really pin them down, they'll say Stone Roses were like the start and the end of anything cool. You know? Love it. Am I getting you pumped? Am I getting you into the, hey, maybe I should get a real drummer? Am I going to get you into that room, sweating in there with some fucking bastards, with some geezers, making noise? I'm telling you, if you forget all of this, forget it. Forget recording. Don't care about microphones. Don't care about pedals, all right? You go into a studio to do that with a pro that you know that you loved his old music that he did currently, all right? Do not go anywhere near this. You get in a room with a drummer and a bass player and a singer. I guarantee it. Gig as much as you can. Lose money gigging. Go. Why? You're going to have fun. You're going to have a story. You're going to get to know the scene. You're going to get to know people. You're going to get a manager. You're going to get, get on people's radar. If you are 1 in a million, you might get 1,000 views on your song, because most of them just are playing to nobody, okay? Am I getting you pumped? Come on, let's create something. I just bought a drum kit. I got to start practicing when I'm preaching. I am in the middle of nowhere. There are no drummers around me. So I'm not going to make that an excuse. I'm going to write music. I'm going to do demos. And I'm going to give it to some drummer, some monster, and fly him here. And say, hey, can you learn this for a few weeks? Really learn it. So you know it backwards. And by the time you come here, I even want to record something in one take without even, just for the fuck of it, because I think that'll be fun. And then play it for a day, for 2 days, for 3 days, and capture magic. That's what it takes. You got to think like a record label in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You got to have pre-production. You got to have the song completely done, mostly. Sometimes you can get magic, like Paranoid. But yeah, could you get any more proof that I am right from the song Paranoid? That was written in a day. The best song they did, all right? You might have your own personal favorite, but if you go by demographics, it's the best song they ever did. They hashed that out. Why? Because they played 1,000 gigs. They were so in tune with each other. They knew what to do. They were they were one entity, a gestalt entity, where they could bring in a riff that he was playing on, messing around on, and then all of a sudden Ozzy's going, my woman. Okay, take 7. That's the single. We got to get back there. It's hard. It's way harder than learning this for 10 years and then doing vanilla sausages that nobody's going to like, but you've wasted your time. Nobody's saying it's easy. It's so fucking hard. It's so hard. All right, and on that note, if you like these types of videos, please, there can be a bit of elitism, say, oh, you're begging, you're this, you're that, and the other, okay? My channel loses money. I was asked this question recently. My channel loses money. I spend money to keep this thing going. So if you could become a patron of Tone, if you could subscribe or comment, that all helps, If I made money on this, then I do it more often. I do it out of love. Anyway, I love you guys. I miss our chats. I call it Circle of Tone because I do interact a lot. I answer pretty much most comments. Some are statements, so there's not much I can say about that. But even the bad ones, I'll try and reason with people. But yeah, because it's a big claiming rock and metal is dead. It's a different thing now, But yeah, it's only musicians that seem to be into it, and we have to change that. We got to get normies on board, because normies are the lifeblood of the underground. With no Alice in Chains blowing people's minds, and 1 million people don't pick up the guitar. All right? Nobody's picking up the guitar unless they have ADHD, or if they have some sort of autism and want to play 1 billion notes. Okay, it's not sexy. It's a vag dryer. We need some sexy boys back in it. I know it doesn't get much more sexy than me, but I'm all you got. Circle of Tone. Cheeky boy, innit?